Okay, friends, we all know that social media is the best way to market our businesses. But is anyone else exhausted by all of the rules around how to show up perfectly? Well, lucky for you, my friend Harley Jordan is your go to coach for breaking down the rules and crafting an aligned personal brand on social media. Her live 8-week coaching program, Do Less Club, will take you through the actionable, individualized steps to build a natural money making business on Instagram while calling out any limiting beliefs that are standing in your way. We ain't got time for that. And you know how much I stand behind this. So if you are a seasoned creator wishing you had the feedback and support to press the fast forward button on your social media progress, the Do Less Club is now open. Head to the show notes for more information and use the code HYPE for 10% off. Welcome to the Empowered Podcast with Deanna Merlino, an all-encompassing personal development show where I will be sharing with you just how to transform yourself into the best version of you, both inside and out. From wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and manifestation, I'll be showing you exactly how to live your best life. I will be keeping it as real and raw as it gets. So get ready to peel back the layers and really transform yourself under the surface. Because nothing is better than finding your purpose and living this life as your true, authentic self. Welcome back, Empowered fam. This is your host, Deanna Merlino. I am so grateful to be here with you all today, and we are going to have a pretty in-depth and heartfelt share that ties right into this series. Of course, everything that I share is always divinely aligned and timed, and so it makes so much sense that this came up. And today, continuing on in our series all about protecting your energy, we are going to talk about the importance of setting boundaries, and we are going to be specifically mainly looking at family and maybe touching a little bit on partners because the point that I'm going to make is very similar. But so we're going to start with a little bit of story time. And this is a vulnerable share that I am sharing because I know that every one of us struggles with this in our own way. Like there is probably, this is just a totally made up number, but I think in everyone I've come across and everyone that I've had a conversation with, just knowing people, a lot of people, and being someone who everyone just tends to want to open up to. That's another one of the things about being an empath is being a safe space for everyone. And I think there's maybe like 1 out of 100 people that I've ever met who is like, oh, I don't have any family drama. Oh, I've never experienced anything like that. Oh, my childhood was perfect, which that has its own host of things to deal with as we grow up and become ourselves because life is not perfect and always easy. So in some ways, it's good to have the ability for conflict resolution, but not to jump into all of that. My point is that I know I'm not the only one who deals with family stuff. And so it's so important. I feel so called to addressing this so that, you're not alone because it's very tough. And so you have an idea of what to do because it's hard to find the right solution for everyone involved. So most importantly, I want you to find the best solution for yourself. And so let's dive into family. This past week, I went to visit family in Ohio and we had a family get together, and I'm going to do my best not to say specific names. Though if you are in my world, you will know who I'm talking about. It's pretty easy to put together. But anyhow, my family, we are going to just stick to my dad's side of the family today. There's enough to unpack on one side of the family. Our family has experienced a lot of trauma and a lot of loss, as have all families. And that's why I'm sharing this, right? And so I never met my dad's dad, and he died very young, which had a profound impact on all of the children. And as far as have been told, and as far as the family knows, they had a very great life. They grew up great. However, I'm very intuitive, and especially after today's story, I am very certain that something dark and insidious happened within our family. And I think with all generations, like the older generations, it's so important for them to save face, to make it seem like everything's perfect. Our family is perfect. And anything that's not perfect, you will be shunned, or I will stick my head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. I don't believe that that's only my family. I think that's very much a generational thing. But so anyhow, my dad's dad passed away at a young age, and my dad's brother took his life at some point. I never met him. He was young. I want to say he was like 18. And then there's been all sorts of stuff over time, obviously, just life. But so my aunt, my dad's sister, passed away. And then my dad passed away almost exactly a year later, like a year and a few days. So September is a hard month for this family. Also, my grandma remarried, and the grandpa that I did meet passed away when I was really young. So my poor grandma, right? Like, she's had enough trauma and loss to last a lifetime. And she is certainly the pillar of our family. And I love her so dearly. But so there are remaining family members who have some serious stuff going on, severe alcoholism. I am certain that there is some evil and darkness at play, because evil and darkness feed off of trauma, and feed off of fear, and feed off of sadness, and feed off of grief, and feed off of shame, which is another reason why it's so important to heal through these things. This is why I'm so called. Here's an insider look at why I'm just a portion of why I'm so passionate about helping others to heal and to work through trauma and to heal the inner child. Like, it's all intertwined and it's all so important. Inner child healing is one of the pillars of the things that I teach in my life coaching program. I think it's one of the foundations, in my opinion. If you don't clear up, look at, reprogram, and release things from your childhood, every other portion of your life is built off of that. And so there has been a lot of things in my family line that have happened that are not great, and that must have happened in childhood for some of my family members to end up as messed up as they are. And again, I am very sensitive to energy. And after this weekend's events of seeing and experiencing and being a part of what unfolded, an extreme family argument, an extreme unpacking of things that needed to be unpacked, because this certain family member, in my opinion, under dark forces, is only concerned about themselves. They do not care who they hurt in any way. I think they go out of their way to hurt people, and it's all a coping mechanism. Remember, hurt people. And just in close proximity, in an interaction that I had with this person, I could feel the darkness. I could feel the evil. And when this was all said and done, and when this was over, I have I knew what was coming before it happened. A couple of days prior, I got the insight what was going to go down. And so I was prepared. I walked in very clear-minded, level-headed. I was very mindful of my energy and boundaries. And after I did my practices, and still, as someone who is naturally very high frequency and very high vibe, I still felt myself purging this energy for 2 days. And this is why it is so important to be aware and conscious of energy, to know and have energetic boundaries and practices in place to protect yourself. Because our world is just, we live in a dense world. We live in a heavy world. There are dense and heavy energies. And so it's so important to be mindful of this. And now that I've talked about this experience, what do you do, right? Like, what does one do when they have toxic family members? What does one do when there are family members who are plagued with darkness, negative energies, possibly evil energies. What do? Boundaries. You need to have very specific boundaries. I think it's important to have actual practices, which I teach in my energetic protection and practices course. But it's also just important to have boundaries in general. So this is where we're going to dive in a little deep here. You can, with your family, with anyone, we're going to talk about friends and acquaintances and like colleagues and the people we choose to surround ourselves with next week more. But when it comes to your family, it's a little stickier, right? They're family. Like you were born into families. And so it's not as easy can you and should you sometimes? Yes. Like I do not interact with this family member outside of our like once a year family get-togethers for this reason. So in those situations when you do have to be around them, or maybe you haven't, cut them off or become aware of needing to cut them off as yet, it is important to have boundaries in place and learn boundaries where you love them and you love them from afar. You can love your family and have love for, it's important to have love for them because love is the highest frequency. Love is the highest frequency. And based on the law of transmutation, a higher frequency will always either transmute a lower frequency, like that lower frequency will have to evolve into the higher frequency, or it will just leave. Like it cannot physically stand to be around it. And so the best thing you can do when you're dealing with someone, and it doesn't even have to be this intense, right? Like maybe you have a great family, but I don't know, there's just something about them that agitates you, or you don't have the same beliefs. And so anytime you get together, it's like politics come up, religion comes up, opinions come up, and you just don't see eye to eye, right? You can still have love for them, but you don't have to engage in it. Engaging in this is only going to fuel and feed the negative energy. So you don't want to do that either. Just stand in your own energy. Stand in your own love, stand in your own power, stand in your own knowing, stand in your own discernment. Like know that they are that way. It's not yours to do something about. Know that they have that belief and that belief is great and it's gravy for them. Like that's theirs, not yours. And that's okay. You have to be okay with it for yourself. It doesn't mean you have to engage in it as you shouldn't. And it doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. And it definitely doesn't mean that you have to try and change it. Trying to change anyone's beliefs or behaviors almost never works. It doesn't work for anyone. You drain your energy, you're leaking your energy, and it's not going to change their mind. This is one big reason why people shouldn't talk politics. Like it's just not going to change. No one's going to change their belief because someone else told them to. Our beliefs are built off of our own personal perception and things that we've been through and experiences that we've had and traumas that we've experienced and how we've learned to cope with them. Our worldview is different. That's okay. Stop leaking your energy trying to change everyone to look at things through your eyes. It is okay if people don't have the same opinion as yours, and you can still hold space and still hold love for them. Right? Okay. And so now this is something that I want to talk about, taking it another step further outside of having boundaries and not engaging and holding a higher frequency. I've touched on this before, but it is so important. The only thing that you can do other than not be around that person or not be around that situation, like you've cut them off, the only other thing that you can do is focus on yourself. When you raise your frequency, it's either going to remove people from your existence, your reality as it is, or it will allow them to raise. And so this is especially important when people that you can't get rid of, or you always have the choice to get rid of, but it's not in your highest interest. It's not in your best good. Like we're talking about your parents. We're talking about maybe if you're older and you have younger children who see things differently. We're talking about your life partners, your wife, your husband. We're talking about these people where you don't want to ditch them, right? Like that's not that's not what you want to do. Focus on yourself. And here is why this works. This is where we're gonna dive a little deeper here and talk about some of the universal laws and some of my own personal opinion. So let's talk about this from a family standpoint first. It has been proven scientifically, and I have heard very prominent people that I respect say it's even more, but from a scientific standpoint, it has been scientifically proven that the traumas and the beliefs and the patterns of our ancestors is instilled within our DNA through epigenetics for 7 generations. I've heard up to 13, but again, from a proven standpoint, at least 7. So that means your grandparent up to 7 generations back, your mom's, right? Like all the way back. The trauma they've been through, the beliefs that they have, their view of the world, for better or for worse, is imprinted in your DNA. It is a building block of who you are. And so it is so important. Healing is so important. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for your family lineage. Like if you want to change the patterns of your family, you have to do it yourself. It's all a decision. For me, I decided it started with me. My family was no longer going to carry on the toxic traits, behaviors, and patterns. Like I don't do that whole stick your head in the sand. We're all perfect and we're going to carry that presentation, right? Like that's gone. That will never be in my family. We're done with that. We've moved on from that. That is what I mean by carrying generational traumas, patterns, and curses, quite frankly. So when you want something to change, it starts with you. And now we are, based on the law of one, we are all connected. All of us, the entire collective, every person, everything. So you have your own view of the world, your own consciousness. And then there's the collective consciousness where we are all connected. And the closer you're connected, the more that it impacts you, right? Like your closer family is closer to you in consciousness, so it affects you the most. And so here's the thing. The collective consciousness can impact you. Like the world, when I say like the world is impacting you, when I talk about like empaths and stuff, like the stuff happening in the world truly hurts you. It hurts because we're literally connected. We are one in it. The good news is that our own consciousness, our own patterns, our own behaviors, our own beliefs, our own healing has more of an impact on your reality than the impact of the collective. Does it play a role? Absolutely. But it is so important that you understand that you truly play a role in healing the world. When I talk about healing the world, this is what I mean. I am playing my part in healing the world. What I do internally, what I fix internally, I am reflecting out to the world, and that is adding to the collective consciousness in a positive way. So what are your behaviors? Are you helping? Like, think about this. Are you adding to the collective in a positive way or a negative way? And so this really relates to family stuff because, again, when you change yourself, you are affecting the collective consciousness, which is closest in your familial realm, is closer in your familial realm. So your positive is higher than lower. Back to that law of transmutation. The higher beliefs, the higher energy, the higher behaviors is going to overcome the lower behaviors. So if you want to change, if you don't like, you can't change. If you do not like the way that someone shows up in life and how they act and who they are and they're in your world, that is how you make a change. They will see that and they will feel that, and they will either have no choice but to leave, which, hey, sometimes it's for the best, or they will change eventually. Like it will cause them to have to awaken to their truths and their traumas and their shadows, or they'll carry on, but they will no longer play a role in your life because they just literally cannot stand to be around you. It's an energetic law. Either they will rise or they will leave. And so this is the same with your partners. If you're, for example, like this comes up a lot in manifesting, where clients will be like, okay, I've made these changes, but my partner doesn't, like my partner either thinks this is a load of crap, doesn't believe me, or they're not supporting me. Focus on yourself, stay the course, focus on healing you, focus on changing your reality, because when you do that, it's going to have a ripple effect out onto the other people around you. They will either see that and be like, hey, that thing's working for her. Like healing looks great on her. Or dang, she really manifested that thing that she said he or she said that they were going to manifest. Okay, well, now your partner's going to be like, I'm a little interested. Actually, tell me about that. Your energy is going to change. Your cell, at a cellular level, you change. At a DNA level, you change for the better. And that energy is a ripple effect. As an energetic being, and everyone being energetic beings, they're going to feel that. And again, they will either rise up or they will exit scene. And you just have to trust that everything is for your greatest and highest good for both of you. And so coming back to families a little bit now, I want to dive even deeper. And this is where it ties into wanting to heal and the importance of healing. I want to dive in a little deeper with the fact that, in my opinion, I truly believe that our soul and source creator God together decide what your life is going to look like, in the sense of what family you're born into. Like, I truly believe you pick your family and you're picking certain experiences. There's always free will, and your life is not set in stone. But I think that there are key things that you agreed to, key experiences that you agreed to for your soul's evolution, for you to remember your true essence, for you to learn the most important thing, which is unconditional love, and to play your highest role here in humanity, whatever that may be. And you learn to become that by going through certain experiences. You can only help people with things that you've experienced and learned yourself. So me as a light worker, me as an earth angel, I had to go through specific things specifically so I could help other people through this. I had to have dark experiences in order to teach people how to protect themselves from dark experiences and dark forces, right? It's all tied together. And so when you have been born into a family that is not the greatest, it's in a way a test. Either are you going to carry on that behavior? Are you going to let that mold you for the worst? Are you going to let yourself harm people because you were harmed? Or are you going to learn through the experience and find solace? Is that the word? Solace? Solace in unconditional love, and live out your dharma, doing the thing that you were meant to do. I believe I was specifically brought here to help people through this, to heal, to protect themselves, to change the world for the better, to shine their light, to live their most authentic, aligned, abundant, prosperous, and wealthy lives. Like, that is, I am here to help people do that. And I do that by doing it myself. And so when you've been through traumatic experiences in your family, know that you have a decision to make. You're either going to heal your lineage, or you're going to continue in the harm. Sit with that for a minute, because it is huge and it is way bigger than any of us could ever comprehend. Like, when I say things are divinely planned, every single thing is divinely planned. Are you playing your role in it, or are you playing a victim? Because I choose to play a victor in my story. And I hope that I always encourage you all to do that as well. Even when it's uncomfy, even when it's scary, even when it's hard. The last thing I want to talk about real quick, this episode is getting way longer than I intended, but I think it's really important and really, really, really important right now. And so I want it to be as impactful as it can be. There are literally studies where there's lab animals, and the lab animals, by one of the scientists doing a study, or the doctors doing a study, specifically labeled some of these animals smart and some of these animals stupid, with no reason. Like, all same average animals. They just decided to label them that way. And so when a study was done, the lab workers that were utilizing these animals were given the certain animal and they were told, this animal is smart, or they were given the other animals and they were told, hey, this animal is dumb. And so the lab workers had these beliefs that these animals were dumb or smart. And so they were working with them for a consistent time. And then they ran a test. And in this test, the lab animals that were deemed smart actually were smarter and had better scores than the animals that were deemed dumb, even though they truly were not smarter or less smart. Like, that wasn't a thing. They made it up. And this has proven that when someone has a belief about something, they impression it on those around them, on the things around them. Again, remember, we are all one. If we are all one and we are all connected, that means mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. We are all connected. And again, your beliefs are so powerful. Again, this ties into manifesting. Our beliefs are so powerful that we can even imprint it on the people around us. That is why it is so important to have energetic boundaries. Like, I cannot instill this in you enough. And again, doubling down on that, the reminder that higher frequency will always transmute lower frequency. So remember that while other people's negative opinions, beliefs, behaviors, patterns in this life or from past generational lines. Yes, they impact you. However, through multiple aspects, neuroplasticity, our ability to reprogram our brain, our ability to have our own beliefs, our ability for free will, our ability using many laws, but just in the law of transmutation again as one. Higher frequency will always rewrite lower frequency. And our consciousness will always override collective consciousness. It is more powerful. We are in charge of our lives. And that is what I'm here to remind you, is how to stand in your power and give you the tools and the ability to do so. I am a lighthouse and I am leading the way for you. Reminder that if any of this sits with you, or you are an empath, or you are an energetic healer, or you are someone who holds space for people, whether as a teacher or a coach or a counselor, anything like that, I could not encourage you enough to take my course all about energetic protection and practices, because truly your reality and you depend on having energetic boundaries and safety practices for yourself. So with that being said, enjoy this series, sending you so much love. And I'll see you next week where we're going to talk about energetic protection and the importance of having energetic boundaries with your friends and coworkers and the people you surround yourself with. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing day. If this episode sat with you, please share it on Instagram. Please send it to a friend. Please slide into my DMs and tell me all about it. I love you all so much. Have the best day. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to find out more, you can follow me on Instagram at Empowered with Deanna and my personal page, Fit Deanna Lolita. You can also visit me on my website, which is deannamerlinofit.com. Make sure that whatever platform you guys are listening on, please rate and subscribe. And this means so much to me. It's going to help get me out there to help so many other people. I'm so grateful that you're here with me on this journey of wellness and self-empowerment. I cannot promise that it will always be easy, but I do know that it will always be worth it. Stick with me, and together, let's start living as the version of us that we were meant to be. Because the world is waiting for your gifts, and you deserve to live the life of your wildest dreams and beyond. So friends, let's get empowered.